Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I am Brenda Eaton. I'm chair of the CTERA program, which is looking after the construction of the sewage treatment program. I have 9 slides to take you through, which will talk a little bit about the context that you're discussing today, and then the implications of any decisions that might be made for you to think about as you make this important decision on land-based application. So let me start with, as I say, I've got 9 slides. Just want to talk a little bit about the current plan, which would have us produce Class A biosolids under the existing plan. The plan to date, as has been mentioned, had been based several years ago on the assumption that we would be able to sell any product to a cement kiln. And as we now know, with the passage of years and experience under our belt, that this is a very unlikely scenario. There's only one cement kiln in North America that is actually using biosolids as a source of fuel. And the implications for us, as you've heard tangentially today, is that if we were unable to sell the product as was contemplated several years ago, the most likely outcome would be a requirement to build a waste to energy, i.e. an incineration with some heat recovery, at an additional cost of $38 million. So that's the implication of this decision for the project. And I'll just briefly take you through a couple of issues related to that. The first, as you've heard, is that the Canadian Council, which is all provincial governments and all federal governments, fully support the use of land application of biosolids. And they do that because it's an environmentally positive route to go. Biosolids, as you see in slide 4, is really the cornerstone of modern biosolids management. Land-based application is the cornerstone. It's used in countries all across the world. It's used in industrial countries and developing countries. It's used in virtually all municipalities. So land-based biosolids, because we haven't had sewage treatment plants here in the past, it's not something that we are accustomed to or comfortable with. But you should know, as you've heard from others today, that this is a science that uses land-based applications of biosolids around the world and in virtually all jurisdictions. Another thing I would like to mention is that, and as I've said in the press and as I've said at our various meetings, for us, of course, this is not just all about money. We are here today to tell you about the implications for the project and the project budget and what this would mean for proponents. But I can assure you that we would not be bringing forward this request for you to reconsider this if we did not feel that this was also the right environmental and societal solution. A triple bottom line analysis, which is what you have tasked us with doing, clearly shows that land-based application is the best environmental and sustainability solution. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm having trouble here matching up the slides.
There.
Don't have a perfect match here. So let me just mention a couple of other things then with respect to the costs. A land-based application would mean that there are 2 things that would not be required of the project. So when the analysis was done several years ago, it included 2 pieces. The first is taking biosolids, and they would be dewatered and they would be turned into a Class A biosolids, the safest form of biosolids. If you go the next step, that requires energy, and it requires $35 million in order to dry those biosolids for a fuel use. That $35 million is currently in our budget, but it would not be required for us to spend that money in order to dry the biosolids if in fact they could be dewatered and used as a land application. The second piece, not in the budget, is that if we were unsuccessful in finding somebody to purchase the dried biosolids, we would be required to build some kind of waste to energy facility at a $38 million cost. So when you take the money that could be saved of $35 million, plus the additional $38 million, the total difference from a budget perspective is $73 million between land-based application and not. The operating costs are relatively small, but of course these are labor intensive. Sorry, these are energy intensive, and there's a certain cost to moving in that realm. So in short, we just want to make sure that as you contemplate this very difficult decision, that you understand the implications for the CRD's direction to us. We believe this is an environmental solution, and when we work through the triple bottom line, as I say that you've tasked us with, this is the best environmental decision. And we bring this forward to you because you have asked us to look at the triple bottom line. And we also bring it forward so that as you wrestle with this issue, you clearly understand the implications from a financial perspective as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.